Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. We are here today once again. As Interista under Inzaghi, it's kind of normal previewing a Coppa Italia final. He is, of course, the Coppa Italia merchant, and this time around we're not facing Juventus, but we're facing Fiorentina. Fiorentina, and you guys, if you've been following this channel, you must recognize this face, this lovely face. Tito from Viola Nation. I think it's his third or fourth appearance on the channel. I always love to bring him on to cover the Fiorentina side, and I'm glad to bring him on this time around. How are you doing, Tito?
I'm doing well, thanks, Sharma. How are you? Really enjoying the new intro, by the way. The Brozovic lounging like Burt Reynolds on a bearskin rug. That's really something.
I'm going for the hypnotic factor, so I'm like drawing people in, and you're just looking into Brozovic's eyes, and you're just like melting away, and you can't turn away.
It worked on me, man. I was just transfixed.
Yeah, that's it works. It works. Psychology. I work in marketing. I know how to do these things.
Excellent.
But you can see Tito's got his Fiorentina in the background. He's got his kits in the back. Also, one of them I saw he was repping the late Astori, Davide Astori as well. So, always nice to give a quick reminder to the people of Davide Astori, captain of Fiorentina, former captain of Fiorentina, always in our hearts. But yeah, there's 14 people that have tuned in already. Appreciate you all. Let me give a quick shout out before we get into everything. Forza Inter. Inzaghi has no excuse to win tomorrow. Damn. You sacrifice a league game, expect nothing but high pressing movement. Well, yeah, we know Inzaghi is going to want to win tomorrow for sure. We know that this is his competition. Today is exactly 13 years since the triplete. I can't believe it. Wow. Thank you, Nerazzurri, for reminding us. Yeah, what a historic
Dang.
day this was for Interisti around the world 13 years ago. Do you have any memories of that as an outsider, Tito, of Inter's triplete?
I think not anything that your most everyone else has. I mean, I remember watching those Mourinho teams. I feel like I remember their Champions League run more than I remember their league run.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think what really got me was that he was the tactical switches he made, switching to that two at the front system sometimes instead of using Eto on the wing. And I remember, yeah, whenever that was, 12 years ago, you said 14,
13 years ago.
13. Yeah, split the difference. Yeah, I just remember being amazed that he could convince Eto to play essentially as an extra fullback, and I was just amazed by that entire approach. And thank you, Massimo. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, I guess that does stand out when you think of it as an outsider. You're thinking of Samuel Eto'o as being killer in the box, and yeah, Mourinho being Mourinho managed to convince him to do something completely different.
Yeah, it's still I think one of the most impressive pieces of management I can remember in a lot of
Yeah,
ways. So yeah,
fun memories, fun memories. And you guys used to be pretty good back then as well. That was when you guys used to challenge for European spots back in those days too.
yeah, it was a slightly different ball game, but hey, in another European final this year, so who can say? Who can
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, Marvelo says we can win it. Yes, we can definitely can win it, Marvel. Eduardo, yeah, let's get into it now. Tito,
All right.
Eduardo asks how do you like first before we get into the game? Give us a little quick, wrap up of the season because it's been a very interesting season. As I was saying to you backstage, these guys are in two finals, as Tito mentioned. A European, as whatever you think of the Conference League final. To me, as Roma showed last year, it's if you're in the final, you have to win it. So they're in that, and then obviously Coppa Italia final. But in the league, they're 11th. So tell us, Tito, how is the season under Italiano for you? Good, like feeling.
That's it. Well, right now it feels pretty good. Fiorentina with two chances to bring in the first major trophy since 2001, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty exciting for us. Yeah, it's been a very strange season. I feel like that's definitely one of the adjectives we've attached to every Fiorentina season for a while now. But yeah, started off pretty rocky. I think that Vincenzo Italiano, the manager, this is his first time ever coaching in Europe, And so I think competing on three fronts, it took him a long time to figure out how to do that
Hmm.
and get his squad rotations right. There were also a lot of injuries at the start of the year. A lot of key players missed out a fair amount of time. And then the World Cup break obviously threw things into disarray for everyone and hit Fiorentina pretty hard. But yeah, it was pretty rocky at the start. I think over rotated the squad pretty heavily, and none of the players could really get into a rhythm. But then around what was that, February, I think, went on a an incredible winning streak. I think won 9 in a row across all competitions, and really felt like the team.
Including Inter in between there, wasn't there?
I I say nothing. I say nothing. I know where I am, and I will try to be respectful. But yeah, no, and I think when that happened, the team really clicked in. I mean, it's Italiano. He always plays some variation of a 4-3-3. Early in the season, he was playing sort of a flat midfield three, and then he tilted the triangle to play more of a 4-2-3-1 with two holders and a number 10. And recently, he's tilted it back, so there's a regista and two mezzale, and I
Mhm.
think that's really started to come on well, even if it didn't quite look that way at the weekend against Torino, as I'm sure y'all are aware. Italiano rotated only one regular starter in the 11 for that game. It's pretty clear, I think, that he and Fiorentina are prioritizing this final very hard.
As you
Oh,
would,
absolutely, yeah, and I think all the fans are delighted uh,
yeah.
to come out of that and see guys like Alexa Terzic and Lorenzo Venuti in the starting 11 instead of the regular starters.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. I think he did the right thing. And what do you make of like Italiano? I mean, where do you stand with him? Some people rate him as like the next biggest thing since sliced bread, and some people call him very overrated. I lean towards a little bit the overrated side of things, but then like the fact that, as you said, three competitions this year, he's kind of proving those that that maybe he is ready for some bigger things. Like, where do you stand with Italiano?
Well, I'm not going to say bigger things. I mean, here he is with a chance to win two trophies, right? What could be bigger? Everyone who's looking for coaches, please do not hire Vincenzo Italiano. My official position in that regard is that he's terrible. No one should want him. No, I think he's a really good manager. He's still young. I mean, this is his
Yeah.
what, third year managing Serie A, and I think his fifth year managing a fully professional team.
Hmm.
So he's still very much a young coach, still learning, and I think that's clear sometimes in his decisions. Like I mentioned earlier, his rotation patterns early in the season were just buck wild, and I think he's tightened that up really effectively. He's still, I think, learning how to use his substitutions better. I think as an in-game manager, there are times when he could be a little sharper, but
Yeah.
he's started to show an ability to adjust to situations. I think he's fantastic at training in preparation of uh, excuse me. I think he's fantastic in terms of preparing for individual matches
Hmm.
for the week ahead. So I expect him to come out with a pretty good plan against Inter. And I think it's going to be a fascinating tactical matchup. He's been doing a lot of sort of Guardiola-esque things. Fullbacks playing very narrow, almost as auxiliary midfielders, and frequently moving inside.
Yeah.
That's that's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, and just a lot of really interesting movements with the midfielders, the nominal central midfielders, the Mezzale frequently drifting very wide.
Hmm.
Gaetano Castrovilli in particular, and Jack Bonaventura often looking more like wingers than midfielders, and then with the wingers also moving inside. So it looks pretty chaotic a
Yeah.
lot of the time, but I think the players have a very good understanding with each other. And I think that speaks really well of Italiano. I think more than that, too, getting out of the pure tactics side, I think in terms of just pure vibes, let's get into the science here. What really stands out is Fiorentina for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years before him. it just looked like a miserable team to play for.
Oh yeah, I mean the Yakini days. Oh my god,
Oh,
having Chiesa as a wing back.
yeah, that's a dark place, and as someone who is currently sitting inside of a dark place, clearly, I don't want to go back there. But no, I think that the way that he has remade the team's mentality, the players don't seem afraid anymore. They seem willing to express themselves. The team plays very much on the front foot, and yeah, it's just really it just feels different. The players seem like they're having a good time. It seems like they like and trust the manager in a way that I
Mhm.
don't think I've seen since Vincenzo Montella's first run through Florence when Fiorentina finished fourth 4 years in a row, and because Italy just completely messed up in all their European competitions, lost that fourth Champions League spot, which I'm definitely not bitter about at all. We can do that on another podcast. So yeah, no, I think that I think he's a very good manager. I think he's definitely got room to grow, but again, he's like 43 maybe, and I think he's going to. The progress I've seen from him from last year compared or this year compared to last year rather, I think is pretty impressive and shows that he isn't the finished article, that he is going to only improve as a manager.
Mm, yeah, no, that's a really yeah. I agree. I think with all those points. This season, I wasn't sure on him, and sometimes I feel like his the style of play is a little bit when it doesn't work. It's very you know side to side, like
Yes.
possession for possession's sake. But yeah, as you said, after February, when this thing started clicking, then you started to see like, oh, okay, this is actually quite interesting. He's cooking something. He's cooking something nice. Um, but one question I have for you, I don't know if you got to see at the weekend or yesterday, the Lord himself, Bobby Gagliardini, his masterclass against Napoli. I mean,
Oh
how
boy.
scared are you of Gagliardini? Who, by the way, someone asked. I don't think the Serie A suspension carries over to Coppa Italia, so I think he would be available for this.
Yeah, I'm genuinely concerned he's going to bring a hatchet onto the field and just dismember Nico Gonzalez in the first 20 minutes, which is a concern for me, definitely. I mean, personally, I'm terrified of him. Also, I think that he would probably take a hatchet to me too. So no, I've always actually kind of liked Gagliardini. I mean, he's a limited player and he's one of those Atalanta guys who, as soon as he leaves Bergamo, turns into a pumpkin a little bit. But I also think he's not a terrible player. I feel like y'all are a little hard on him, but also y'all are generally very funny about it, so I don't mind very much.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy the memes as an outsider. But as an outsider, going back to Inter, what do you make of this Inter team, this Inzaghi Inter team? Similarly to you guys, where like when you look at the league position, especially after the loss yesterday, it's like you're looking, not so good in the league, but then yeah, cup final here, Champions League final on the other side. Like, what do you
Yeah.
make of this Inter team?
I mean, I think that this Inter team is really, really good. I mean, I haven't looked at the odds yet. Not that I, you know, encourage gambling under any circumstances. Of course, I'm not sure if what your stance is on this family friendly podcast,
I'm
but
I'm not a gambler myself, but I'm open. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm open to
I'm
looking
not
through.
either. But I usually look at the odds just to see what the very smart people think is going to happen. But I would imagine Inter is pretty heavily favored in this, and I mean, it's not too hard to see why, right? Like
Let's have a look
bigger
whilst
team,
you talk. I'll
more
have a look.
money. Oh yeah, please. But yeah, bigger team, more money. What, probably 8 spots higher in the table. I mean, I think the only thing that could possibly happen is getting too dialed in on the Champions League final. But I think Inzaghi's too smart for that, and I think Inter's got a veteran squad. These guys are going to be ready. And they know how to get themselves up and go. So I don't think that's a real concern for y'all. No, I mean, I feel like Inter is a little bit uneven sometimes.
Mm.
I mean, I'm looking back over the recent results, and there's some slightly strange ones. I feel like, I mean, again, I'm not trying to dig up old trauma because I do think that Inter is uh, any given Sunday, probably a better team than Fiorentina by a decent amount. But drawing to Salernitana and then losing at home to Monza, those are slightly concerning, I think. If you're an Inter fan, I imagine that y'all weren't thrilled about either of those.
No, those really hurt. But to be honest, the Fiorentina game really, like, the chances that we missed in that game. I mean, that Lukaku one comes to mind straight
Oh
away.
gracious, yeah, that was really something. Wow, yeah. Condolences.
Yeah, it's really like the Fiorentina games have been really over the last few years, even in the Conte era, like they've always been really, I mean, if you're a neutral anyway, they've been very interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Goals,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't really know who's going to win. I mean, last time round, here's the head-to-head recently. You guys won at our home, but we beat you in that crazy 3-4 game where
Oh
Mkhitaryan
God.
somehow, like, Venuti kicked the ball at
Uh,
him and the ball went in. I mean, yeah, condolences to you on that one.
I mean,
Before that, we drew, then we beat you, then we beat you, then we beat you. But they're always very difficult games. It's never an easy ride against you guys.
yeah, I feel like Fiorentina always plays Inter really well, and I think you're right. I think they're always just fascinating games to watch. Which I'm looking forward to another one. Yeah, I think the real hope is that I think the real hope for me as a Fiorentina fan is that the players just come out, the Viola players just come out really ready to go, really dialed in, and that Inter comes in with a little bit of complacency. Again, I don't think that's what is going to happen. I'm speaking as a fan, not as
Yeah.
someone who's analyzing things. But I think that's probably the best bet. That and Pietro Terracciano having an out of body experience in goal, I think, is going to help.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, same. My hope would be that you guys maybe are thinking about that Conference League final, but it is the 7th of June, so there's plenty of time until then. So yeah, I'm sure your full focus will be on this game. I mean, that would be, when's the last time you guys have won a Coppa Italia? That would be historic, right?
2001,
Wow.
2001. So it's been a minute. Went to the final against Napoli in what was that, 2014, and ended up losing that. But that was you might remember this one actually. That was a crazy final. There was a lot of fan violence. A Napoli fan was shot by Roma ultras before the
Oh
game. It
yeah, yeah, I
delayed the
do remember
kickoff
that
by
now.
several hours, and it was just a bizarre atmosphere in the stadium. And I think that, I mean, circumstances like that, that's so weird. That's so unexpected. You can't really blame a team for not performing their best under the shadow of someone getting shot, I feel like. So I was sorry not to win that one, but I didn't blame the team particularly.
Yeah, no, that was, yeah. Now that you remind me, that was a weird one. That
Yeah.
was a very weird one, and there was like the Napoli Ultra or something giving like permission to play, like, was it something like that happened, right?
Yeah, there were all kinds of really wild things going on, I think,
Mm,
in the lead up to that game.
mm.
So
Did Italiano say that he prefers the Conference League final over the Coppa Italia? Is that quote
yeah,
or?
I think that's true. I mean, I also think though that if you offer him the Coppa Italia, I don't think he's gonna throw it in the bin here. I think he'll be more than happy to take that home.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I would say, it's European. I mean, as I said, like, whatever you think of the Conference League, it's a European competition, and it gives you access to the Europa League for next year as
And
well,
I
which
think
is,
that's really what he's probably thinking about. I think he's a very long term project oriented
yeah,
guy, which again, as a Fiorentina fan, I love.
yeah, and you probably get more money, I would imagine.
Yes, yes, that would be
So
great.
Big
We can,
Rocco upstairs is also hoping for that one.
yeah, got to get that money to sink into the Viola Park, that new training center that we've heard so much about. Can't wait for that as we
Yeah.
sell Chiesa and Vlahovic and probably Amrabat this summer. Now, yeah, really excited for that Viola Park. Let me tell you.
Yeah, speaking of your big boys, let's get into so this is Sport Media Set. They're not very reliable, this, because we're doing this preview on a Monday. Usually the lineups are more accurate on a Tuesday, but this is what Sport Media Set have put out as the potential predicted lineup for you guys on Wednesday. Yeah, speak to me quickly about these two guys, Amrabat and Castrovilli. Amrabat again, like he's one of those guys that after the World Cup, like I used to really like him, but then I felt like people have gone like completely overrating this guy to like new levels. And Castrovilli, on the other hand, he's kind of gone under the radar since his injury issues over the last few seasons. So yeah, how are these two guys? How has Amrabat season been, and how has Castrovilli been this season in your eyes?
I think you just summed them both up perfectly right there. I'll add. I think that Amrabat has in the World Cup. I mean, I think he was maybe the best player in the World
Oh
Cup
yeah, yeah,
tournament.
no, 100%. I'm
I
not
just
saying he had a bad World Cup. He had
yeah no, and
World
and
Cup.
I enjoyed watching that so much. It was a delight. I think he was closer to that level at the start of the season. I think he's dropped off a little bit, and I mean, how could he not? He put so much of his heart and soul and legs into that tournament, and I think he's slowed down a little. He's looked a little more mistake prone to me, and you know that's just what it is. It's a long season with a World Cup in the middle of it. It's hard for a player to be good for. I mean, what's that going to be for him? Almost 70 games. I mean, that's just
Hmm.
that's too many games for any player to squeeze into a season. I mean,
Yeah,
Fiorentina have played more games than I think any team in Italy
yeah. You
this
guys have
season,
played because
having
because
to
of
go
the Conference League and everything. Like yeah, you
yeah,
guys
having
have
to go through
squeezed.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fiorentina's leading there, so there is some concern about his legs. I think Rolando Mondragora has been better than I thought he would be, but is definitely not Sofian Amrabat with respect to him. Yeah, so I think that Amrabat. I mean, he's still a bowling ball in the middle. He'll still run around and just create havoc. I think my bigger concern with him is that his passing has fallen off a little bit. Against Torino, he had a couple of just shockingly bad giveaways that against a more competent team, I think would have been punished. And I think Inter will punish those kinds of mistakes. So I think he's really going to have to be a bit sharper than he's been over the past couple of weeks or so.
Do
Uh,
you in the summer? Do you think would you take if an offer comes? Because I saw the rumors of like Barcelona or some Premier League teams. Would you take an offer for him, or would you want to keep him?
I don't think that's really up to Fiorentina at that point. The word coming out from his agent and his brother, who just won't stop talking to the press, which seems a little goofy to me, but is fine. Uh, is that Fiorentina made an agreement with him to sell him over the summer if he didn't leave in January. So
Right.
I assume that he's on his way out. There've been too many stories linking him away. I think he's too big of a name. And yeah, I fully expect some Premier League club or one of the two Spanish clubs to come in for him.
Yeah.
I mean, my money's on Chelsea just because you know they're buying the GDP of you know half the nations of the world every transfer
Literally.
window now. So why not?
Yeah. The defense
And
budget of the United States.
good lord, yeah, boy
Yeah.
howdy. Yeah, but Castrovilli, I think, yeah, had a really tough start to the season. A lot of injuries he dealt with. Missed the preseason training again under Italiano, which he did last year as well. Due to his commitment at the Euros, you know those 8 minutes that he played, crucial
Oh
for the
yeah.
team. Um, no, I think he's really started to settle in. He's playing a little bit deeper than I think a lot of people anticipated. I know that he wears number 10. I think people when he first broke out a few years ago really thought he was going to be the next great Italian number 10, which I don't think he's going to be. He's not he doesn't have that kind of fantasia. He's not a passer as much. He's still a fantastic dribbler, great ball carrier. Gets through a lot more defensive work, I think, than people give him credit for too. And he's playing much deeper, sometimes almost in a double pivot, which I certainly wouldn't have expected even at the start of the year. But yeah, he's been really good. I think he's his new role where he frequently plays on the right of a midfield three, pulls wide, looks to drive at fullbacks, looks to interchange quickly with Nico Gonzalez and Dodo. I think that's really suited him. And I think it's a credit to him mentally to come back from all these injuries and then not playing very much. And I think it's a credit to Italiano as well for finding a way to really bring the best out of him.
Yeah. And he's got an awful tattoo as well now.
Oh, he's I Which
Is
which
it like
one?
has he got like is this his whole arm is just black or something? Is something
Oh
like
yeah, he does have a little bit of a blackout going. Yeah, I mean, personal choices. I'm
yeah,
I've had people criticize my tattoo, so I'm certainly not going to say a word here. But he's made
yeah,
some
no,
choices for sure.
yeah.
Uh,
This is my personal opinion on that. Just having a blacked out arm is just
I
weird.
mean,
But no,
you know,
really, so yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, I was always on the band of like, yeah, bring this guy to Inter, kind of be that guy as a rotational option. And yeah, I used to see that that dribbling ability is what Inter need in midfield. So yeah, was he like 26 now, 27?
yeah, I think 20, 25, 26.
Yeah, so
So
I'd still be interested in bringing him over as a rotational option at Inter. Um,
yeah, I think he
I know
can
he's
do
not
it.
he's not your like before he was like kind of your star boy, but now he's kind of not that mainstay in your team.
And I think that suits him better, frankly. I mean, I think his primary attribute is carrying the ball into the final third through the middle.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, really good dribbler. Uh, I don't think that he sees the passes that well.
Mm.
And he doesn't contribute enough in the penalty box, I don't think. If you look at his goals and assists,
Yeah.
those numbers are a little
He hasn't
lower, I think.
improved on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and I think he's starting to get there. He's shown some really interesting runs recently, particularly getting over the top, getting in front of the strikers, which he didn't used to do under Yachini. Which I mean, I think that's because Yachini wanted his midfielders to stay within touching distance of the defenders at all
Mm.
times, which we loved. But yeah, I think that he's starting to show some growth.
Yeah. And of course, you've got the evergreen Jack Bonaventura
Oh man.
going strong as always.
Also sent off against not against Torino because he was suspended, but the week before got sent off for getting into it after the full time whistle.
Who, Bonaventura?
Yeah,
Oh, damn.
it was unexpected. He's still got that fire of a young man, even though he's
Yeah.
almost my age, which is good to see.
Yeah. Yeah, he usually has good games against us. I don't know if it's that Milan factor, being ex-Milan player. He always seems to have a extra bone to pick with us. Obviously we have your captain Biragi was always underappreciated, disrespected by Interisti. I'm glad he's becoming like a legend for you guys these
Me
days.
too. A lot of Fiorentina fans I think dislike Biraghi and give him a lot more grief than he deserves. I think because he can get turned defensively, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah.
But his delivery from the fullback position, I think, is as good as anyone in Italy.
Yeah.
No offense to Federico Di Marco, but I think that Biraghi is he's such a good player. He's so consistent. I've written a couple of articles about his crossing numbers, which are hilarious. I think a couple years ago, he himself had hit more crosses than the team that had hit the second most crosses in Serie A. He's just
Yeah, I remember
nonstop.
even when he was at Inter, it was him and Candreva used to be this like top two.
Yeah, and he's not bad at it. And I don't know. I just admire anyone who will just keep on spamming crosses in no matter what. I find that sort of delightful to watch, even
Yeah,
when it
the cross and
frustrates me a bit.
Inter as we lovingly call it at Inter. Um, but yeah, in terms of this lineup, Tito, is this what you're expecting? This 4-3-3, pretty much, or is any other players that you see? Maybe Jovic for Cabral, or what do you see?
I think the only two real questions at this point are Igor had a slightly rough day at the office against Torino,
Mm-hmm.
and Italiano has been favoring Luca Ranieri recently a little bit, which is really unexpected.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. He's not even supposed to be a centre back, is he?
I think he's probably at his best on the back or on the left of a back three. I think he's
Mhm.
a little slow for a left back and a little lightweight for a center back. But he's a fantastic tackler. I mean, he came into the season and he was clearly surplus. They just failed to get a loan deal away for him.
Right.
But he started in that key Conference League game against Basel and played pretty well, I think, in
Mm.
helping him win. So he's got Italiano's trust in a way that I wouldn't have expected. He's also left-footed and he's fairly quick. So I think maybe against the speed of Lautaro, he might be an option, but I would still expect Igor. The other one is Jonathan Ikone out there on the right wing. I think is likely to start. There's a slight chance you could see Ricardo Sotil out there, and then Gonzalez goes over to the right and Sotil on the left, so they both cut inside onto their stronger feet.
Hmm.
I think that's possible, but I would put my money on Ikone. I think Sport Media Set probably has this about right. And
Yeah.
Luka Jovic scored against Torino, but I think there would be a riot on the streets of Florence if he started over Arthur Cabral in this one.
Talk to me quickly, because I picked him because at the beginning of the season I make a video every year, one player to watch for each team, and Jovic was my player to watch for
Oof.
Fiorentina. He's got 12 goals in all competition this season, which is not too shabby. But tell us, like, how is this weird deal that I don't know how you guys managed to get? Like, how is it gone?
It is a very strange deal. I believe it's technically a Real Madrid loaned him to Fiorentina for 2 years and pays half of his salary, and then Fiorentina has the option to sign him on a free at the end of that 2 years and pay him something like 6 million a year, which I don't think is going to happen.
Hmm.
Jovic does have 12 goals this year in all competitions. I think about half of them came against Hearts in the group stages of the Conference League, which I like Hearts. I think they're a fun team. They're a good Scottish team, but I
He's
mean,
stat padding.
yeah, I mean, I think I think he genuinely scored 6 goals in those 2 games, and Fiorentina scored, I think, 9 maybe across both legs. So, like, I think that's a slightly deceptive number. He's he's supposed to be that classic poacher, I think, but his finishing has just been really bad, frankly. He's missed a lot of chances. He missed 3 chances against Basel to win it. Had a header saved free on the back post. Which was a very good save, in fairness to him. And then middle of the box, cross came in, tried to volley it over from 5 yards out with no one near him, and spooned it miles over, and then got in behind at the death and put it off the post. So that's kind of been the story of his season. He's one of those. He's a poacher, and when he's not scoring goals, he doesn't contribute much. He's not very mobile. He's not great in the air. His link-up play isn't especially good. He's also had some interactions with the fans at times. I think he got the curva against him pretty early on. He talked about using Fiorentina as a stepping stone.
Yeah, I remember.
As soon as he signed, which will come as a shock to you, I'm sure, that the Cordova Fiesole didn't like that very much. And then he also, after he scored, I think after missing 4 or 5 other chances, ran under the curva and celebrated by shushing them, which also didn't go over real well, and he had to backpedal like crazy out of that one. So I don't think that I'll put it this way. I think he should continue to rent in Florence. I don't think he should invest in property.
Yeah.
Is my thought.
It's funny because Joaquin Correa also did the same a few weeks ago when he scored against Benfica, and he was like doing the can't hear you to the Inter fans who have been booing him.
Oh, he was no, he was just listening to see if the grill was cooking well enough to start throwing the meat on, right?
Tito knows about the inside jokes in the Inter.
I'm trying to keep. I do research before I come on with you, man. I try to keep up.
The research, he just browses through the memes. Yeah,
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
but yeah.
No, it's a strong lineup. It's a strong lineup. I think. It's one of those lineups that Icone, Gonzalez, like these kind of tricky wingers we always struggle against, as you've shown recently. So not going to be an easy game at all. Let's move on to the Inter lineup. Sport media are usually not very reliable, but actually this looks pretty spot on to me because as most people have been saying in the comments, yes, Samir Handanovic, our captain, will be starting, unfortunately. He's dusted.
Oh boy,
it is what it is. Inzaghi just likes to start him here and Yeah, I guess Coppa Italia makes sense because he's been starting all the games in the Coppa Italia, so I'll give him that. It's when he rotates him in the league that makes no absolute sense.
Yeah,
It is what it
definitely.
is. Maybe we can send him off with a final, trophy lift.
I'm will be honest. I'm much happier to see Handanovic back there than Onana, who's just been incredible over
Yeah,
the past month or two.
yeah, yeah. No, the whole season pretty much since Inzaghi finally took the L and started Onana.
Oof.
Back line, Darmian, Acerbi, Bastoni. That looks spot on as the Darmian and Acerbi were both rested at the weekend. Dumfries also rested. Brozovic and Hakan should be playing in midfield because Mkhitaryan is still injured. We don't know when he will be back yet. Hopefully by the time of the Champions League final, he will be back. And then, yeah, Dzeko, Luka. I always, because we always say Lula or Lukaku together, Martinez. But yeah, Martinez and Dzeko should be starting because we've seen Inzaghi's rotation of the strikers. That's how it works. So, any thoughts from you on that lineup? I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I bet you are. That's a really good 11, man. Uh, yeah, I think. I mean, what my guess is that Inter is going to sit a little bit deeper and let Fiorentina keep the ball and try to hit
Yeah,
on the break, because that is absolutely the best way to beat Fiorentina, as we've seen for the past 2 years.
yeah,
What worries me particularly is Martinez and Dzeko matched up 1-on-1 with Milinkovic and Igor. They're so smart playing together. Their movement is so good. Their link up play is so. I really enjoy watching them together.
yeah,
And that is my worry, getting them isolated when the fullbacks get up a little bit much. I'm also a little bit worried about Dumfries attacking the back post against
mm.
Biragi. That does not give me the warm and fuzzies. Other than that, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that Brozovic still probably the most underrated midfielder in Italy, and I think that battle between these midfield threes is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Good mix of athleticism and technique, and just real grit in there. I think that's going to be great. But
Yeah,
I think, to me, where it's really going to be won and lost for Fiorentina are the center backs versus the strikers.
yeah. I agree. There's going to be a really interesting matchup. Um, Milinkovic or Igor Martinez Quarta, whoever starts in there, it's gonna be a great matchup. And Dzeko's got a really good record, I think, against Fiorentina, doesn't he, over the years?
Yes, yes, he does. Yes, he does. I think he's scored in more than half of his games against Fiorentina, and that doesn't make me feel great either.
Yeah. Uh,
But
if you had to pick a player of the season for Fiorentina, who would it be at this stage right now? Obviously, we've got a few games left,
mm,
but right now, who comes to mind?
I think that Milenkovic, Biragi, Jack Bonaventura, Amrabat, Cabral all have a decent shout for it. But I think it has to be Nico Gonzalez. I think
Wow,
he's
even with all these injuries.
absolutely, yeah. I think that I think he's clearly the best player on the team.
Hmm.
He can make something happen out of nothing. He can do everything basically.
Wow.
He's fast. He can dribble. He wins fouls. He can shoot from distance, and eventually he's going to hit one of those left-footed curlers, and it's going to go in, and I'm going to lose my mind because he's been really close several times recently, and just barely fizzed him wide. And he's also astonishingly good in the air. I
Yeah.
don't know how he jumps as well as he does, but he will get up. And I think that he is very much Fiorentina's main threat. Again,
Yeah.
Jonathan Ikone is capable of doing incredible things, but he's just as capable of like tying his shoelaces together and running into the goalpost and knocking himself unconscious, which again makes him a really fun player. You never know what you're going to get. He's just pure chaos, and I love that. I like players like that.
Yeah.
Arthur Cabral is also a really fun player to watch. He runs funnier than any player in the league. I think he's got his shoulders back, his chest out, really pulls his eyebrows down, and puts his
Yeah.
arms at perfect 90-degree angles, and just running man. And it's so fun to watch him do that. He's a goofball. Really like the guy. He's been a great striker too, especially over the second half. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's got to be Nico Gonzalez. If I were Inzaghi, that would be where I started my defensive game plan, and I would build from there.
Hmm. Yeah. I was surprised, yeah, because I thought because of the injuries and like because he hasn't been able to be consistent all season, then I thought he would have picked someone else. I thought Martinez Cuarta, I feel like, has improved this season compared to his previous seasons.
He has. He has. There was a maybe 2 month section in the middle of the season where he jumped past Igor in the pecking order, but he's dropped back down recently, and he's clearly third choice, maybe even fourth behind Ranieri. And I don't quite get why he's a really aggressive defender. I mean, he wants to get very tight to his man. He wants to carry the ball forward. He's good at it, but he's also more than. I think we're pretty happy not to have Gattuso. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that seems like a bullet dodge almost now, doesn't it?
Yeah, not having to only hire Jorge Mendes clients to play for the club, I think feels just fine.
Mhm.
But thank you for that. Um, anyways, yeah, back to Martinez Cuarta. He's a little too aggressive sometimes. He can get turned. He's very very prone to getting carded, and I think in a cup final, that kind of uh, that ability to get booked is probably something Italiano wants to avoid.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, this you want to avoid players like that in one-off games. Gagliardini. um, but yeah, let's finish up with my predictions, guys. Drop your predictions in the comments down below. It's gonna be a difficult one. Yeah, I'm definitely supporting Fiorentina in the Conference League
Yeah,
final.
thank you.
Yeah, don't need more of Premier League
Oh God,
guys piping up.
just insufferable.
Yeah,
Nothing
I mean,
against your countrymen, of course, Sharma, but
yeah, I'm more like Indian Italian. I live in England, but I don't really feel very English. So yeah,
fair, fair, fair. Uh, yeah, I'm,
yeah.
I'm, I'm
Give
curious
us
to see
your
what everyone's
predictions.
predictions are too.
Yeah, well, in this comment section, brother, you're only gonna find positivity
2-0
towards
to Fiorentina, perfect.
yeah, yeah. You actually, Inter fans, you never actually know who they're not so confident, to be honest.
Yeah,
I've been predicting 1-1s for this last few weeks, like as a more of a like a superstition almost, even though I'm not superstitious, but it's been working up until yesterday. It was working, but now I think Eduardo, we can't do the 1-1 anymore because it doesn't work anymore now.
that's funny. I like
We
that.
definitely need to avoid extra time for sure. We Extra time would be awful for both teams because we both have such packed fixtures.
Yes, I'm with you on that. I'd be happy to just go straight to penalties. I think at that point.
Yeah, can you request to the referee can we just give the penalty? Yeah, I'm feeling. I'll go first. I'm feeling like a two. I think it's going to be difficult. I think you guys are going to play, you know, your hearts out quite rightly. So I think like a 2-1 narrow victory that gets us over the line, and maybe a late goal
I mean, that's
to break your hearts.
they've been broken so many times at this time, Sharma. It's can't fix them. No, I think honestly that's what my head says. My heart says 2-1 to Fiorentina. I I don't really think that's going to happen. I think Inter's the better team. I would
Hmm.
say they probably have the better chance of winning, but again, it's a one-off. Who knows? Who knows? But I think it probably shades towards Inter Milan.
Yeah. Any? Do you predict any goal scorers in particular for you guys?
Oof. I mean, the easy one is Nico Gonzalez because he's been on a tear. Had a double against Basel in that Conference League semifinal.
Mhm.
Uh, I'll say Arthur Cabral. It's been a little while since he got one. I think he's probably ready for another if I had to pick. So I'll say Cabral via a Gonzalez assist. And if I have to pick another one, I'll say Jack Bonaventura, just because
That guy.
Jack only scores bangers. Bonaventura is bound to pop up again at some point, right?
Yeah, I'll predict. Yeah, if in my 2-1 prediction, I predict Bonaventura to score one, and then I'm predicting Dzeko, your Punisher, the Fiorentina Punisher.
Not a bad guess at all.
Yeah, and maybe a Denzel Dumfries far post header or something. I'm predicting.
I would again. I'm not a betting man. If I were, I bet you could get decent odds on that and do all right.
Yeah. No, I think I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, with the Handanovic in goal as well. We have to add that the Handanovic tax in there.
I mean, yeah, just got to shoot towards the corners of the goal, right, and make sure that he won't move.
Basically.
Perfect.
But yeah, Tito, as always, really, really enjoyed this preview with you. 44 minutes coming up to 45. Thank you, as always, for being really a good guest. Anything you want to plug away before you go?
No, just swing by violanation.com if you want to hang out. We're pretty friendly. The comment section, all real nice people. Viola Nation at Viola_Nation on Twitter. Yeah, man. No, we're just hanging out, trying to have a good time. Thanks for having me on. It's always a blast. I enjoy these a whole lot too, man.
Yeah, of course, we'll bring you back on next season once things get going again. But we shall see the chat and everyone else on Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, when the match will be over. Hopefully in normal time.
Yeah, please.
And hopefully a positive reaction for me, and maybe we'll see some tears from Tito on the Twitter. Usually you're the one running the Twitter on the match days, right?
Frequently, yeah. Sometimes my my co-pilot Mike steps in.
I usually recognize it from the sarcasm when it's you.
Yeah, we've got slightly different approaches, I think. And that's part of the beauty of it, right?
Yeah, it is. But thank you everyone that tuned in. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Ciao ragazzi, Forza Inter.